friends, my name is Genta, and thank you so much for being a part of today's episode of the Teacher Vlog, where we connect with teachers from all over the country who are giving you 2 quick tips to help you crush it in the classroom. This week, I've invited my friend Danna onto the episode. She's from the East Coast, and she is passionate about making sure that you stay passionate about the profession. During Teacher Appreciation Month, we want to make sure that you aren't feeling burnt out, and she's going to give 2 really insightful tips that are just simply brilliant that are going to make sure that you love your job. Now, at the end of the episode, stick around because I want to share something with you that totally helped me reclaim my love for the profession. But right now, let's get rolling with this amazing episode. All right, friends, I am hanging out with Danna, and she said it's like Danna like banana, which I love. Now I'm totally gonna remember that. And we are just hanging out and smiling and loving life because we are teachers, and this is Teacher Appreciation Month, so we should be filled with like extra love and extra just like, we should feel that. And I'm super excited because today's topic is actually about what do we do when teachers don't feel that? What do we do? And you've got 2 tips to kind of help us out. So first off, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to connect and to have this amazing conversation.
Yeah, and your background is amazing. So you're part of the Happy Teacher Revolution, which, you know, before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about your vision for it, and I love it. Just that every teacher should feel loved and appreciated, not just in May, but every day. And so what do we do? What's your first tip on when we don't feel like we can continue to be in this profession? What's the first step?
So I think that something that's really important for teachers to remember is the importance of boundary setting boundaries. And that can look in like a number of different things. For me, setting boundaries was deleting my work email from my cell phone.
Nice.
For me, setting boundaries was leaving my work laptop at work. Having an accountability partner who would check my bag to see and make sure that I wasn't taking loads of grading home and things like that. And so that can be a means of setting boundaries. And I think it's really important for teachers to protect their time. There's so much that teachers give, that I think it's really important for teachers to take a step back, realize what their priorities are, to recognize and schedule and prioritize the things that really matter, and to set those boundaries for their personal life.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard people say like leave their laptop or their school bag at home, but I've never heard it quite like that. Like, I love that you took it to the next step and said, no, I had somebody check my bag. It's like airport security. Like, you have like a TSA person going through your bag, and it's like, sorry, you can't come through here. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think that's... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and along those same lines, another strategy that I'd recommend is disconnecting and detaching with love. So coming from a place of love, both for yourself and for your students, that self-care is professional development. And when you invest in taking care of yourself, you are in fact investing in your students. And so along the same lines, I mean, disconnecting and detaching could mean literally turning off your cell phone or disconnecting from the technology associated in the workplace. But it could also mean, having some kind of code switching, transitioning from being Miss Thomas to being Danna. Looked like hanging up my teacher lanyard with my school ID, having like a physical marker of leaving that and transitioning into my personal life.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. And I think just like the visual of that as well, just to separate, like there has to be some separation. And I think one thing that's interesting is the smaller the town that you work in, the harder and harder and harder it is to disconnect, because you're shopping at the Walmart and it feels like you're having a parent-teacher conference every time you turn around. It's like, I don't want to talk about your children's academic goals while I'm trying to get kale. Like, we're not doing this in the produce aisle, right?
Right.
So I think that just visual of literally like hanging up the lanyard or your school keys is just that it's a really good like mental trigger.
Right. Exactly.
Because we hear a lot about self-care. And like, everyone's posting something about self-care Sunday, right? And we hear a lot about professional development. But I don't know if I've ever heard it said like this, that self-care is professional development. I love that because that is so true. Part of being a professional is having a personal life and feeling like your best self. So that's a really good connection.
Right, exactly. And I think, and one thing that I've learned from our revolutionaries, so Happy Teacher Revolution is a Baltimore-born international movement with a mission to organize and conduct support groups for teachers in the field of mental health and wellness. And we're really focusing on increasing teacher happiness, retention, and professional sustainability. And one of our revolutionaries shared with me that she defines self-care in 3 different ways. There's basic self-care, there's deep self-care, and there's radical self-care. And so basic self-care, that's like in our Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Are we drinking enough water? Are we sleeping enough? Are we eating healthy meals? Do we feel safe? And in deep self-care, it's more of that community feel, like Happy Teacher Revolution, in terms of getting outside of yourself and joining the community. So rather than doing a YouTube yoga tutorial for basic self-care, maybe deep self-care is going out into the community and taking a yoga class and doing those types of things.
Cool.
Whereas radical self-care is less frequent, but maybe more intense. So going to a conference like the Teacher Self-Care Conference, or booking a trip for yourself, or going on a vacation, or doing something that might be a little bit more of an investment in terms of time, energy, and money, but is that radical self-care. And I think a lot of teachers, it's trending so much now, this concept of self-care. We're seeing it on Instagram and Self-Care Sunday. And I think a lot of teachers might roll their eyes and be like, oh, here we go again. Because some districts, I think, are sending like a self-care article as if to say, like, that's enough. To cover the support professionally of our educators. And so I think, when I first started Happy Teacher Revolution in 2014, 2015 school year, it really started as a consciousness raising movement, very much like the women's liberation movement, civil rights movement, idea of gathering teachers together to talk about self-care as professional development. And so we're seeing, according to research from the University of Missouri, 93% of teachers report feeling overwhelming levels of stress and burnout, which in turn affects student achievement results. And if we translate those numbers to our public school teachers nationally, that means that out of 3.6 million teachers in the U.S., that 3.3 million are burnt out. And if we look at the students sitting in those classrooms, that means upwards of 70 plus million kids are sitting in a classroom with a burnt out teacher. It's getting incredibly expensive. We're spending nationally about $7.3 billion a year because of teacher turnover, of the revolving door of teachers coming in and out. And so what if instead we use that $7.3 billion to invest in wellness programs and self-care and as professional development for teachers? Because again, PD hasn't been super useful for a lot of teachers out there. That's a $2.6 billion industry. And unfortunately, only 29% of teachers are finding that professional development useful. So I think we're in a moment where we need to reframe how to professionally support our educators.
Preach! Oh my gosh. That emoji. You know the one. This is the one I'm giving right now. Yes. I love it. No, it's so true because so I've been in education for a decade, and I would say the first there we go. Okay. You're back. Hey. I would say the first half of my career, it felt like people weren't talking about how stressed they were and how maybe they weren't loving their job. Like, people kept that inside, and then people would just like leave the profession. It was like, whoa, we didn't even see that coming. So I think part of this movement is like letting teachers know that like it is okay to feel stressed. It is okay. Like, you got to talk about that with other people. We got to do something about it, because nobody wants to walk into their school only to think like, I can't wait until I walk out of it. Like, that's not what we're going for. So I love what you're doing. And I know what's coming, but we're going to go to the final thought, and I'm so pumped up about this. Give it to us, girl.
All right, cool. So one thing that I share in Happy Teacher Revolution is the idea of resilient practitioners. And so the question is, how does a ballerina take care of her legs and feet to dance? And how does a photographer take care of the eyes? And how does the musician take care of their instrument to perform? And I'm a saxophone player. I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and I started playing the saxophone in the 4th grade because of Lisa. And so when I'm getting ready, and I still play.
Yeah. Yes!
And
It's like
so,
Kenny G. We're having like a concert right now.
my hair's not as cool as Kenny G's.
That's
but,
okay. That's okay.
So when I'm getting ready for a gig, right, like I have to make sure that my reed's not chipped, that my keys aren't sticky, that my instrument is working, so that I can play the music and perform the show. And with educators, it's the same thing, right? And when we're in a relationship intense profession, like we all are, we have to make sure we're taking care of our instruments. Well, guess what our instrument is?
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, right? So we're literally instruments of change. And so I just wanted to serenade all our viewers and play a little bit because I think it's really important that we take care of our instruments.
Teacher Vlog friends, we have had nearly 30 episodes and not once have you been serenaded. People have freestyle rapped. We have had music, but we have never been serenaded by essentially like the female Kenny G. So
Female Kenny G.
That's what I'm going with. Yep.
All right. And so extra points to any educators watching who might be able to name this tune.
Oh, good. It's a game built into this. Okay, great. Yes! Amazing! I've heard it so many times. I don't know the name of it though.
All right, so for anybody who guessed it, the correct answer is Careless Whisper by George Michael.
I never would have gotten that, but that's okay. I've heard it so many times. I about Shazammed you, honestly. Yes! I was going to cheat, but... Oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing. I guarantee that teachers watching this right now, if they are feeling burnt out, watching this made them laugh and smile and they were caught off guard. And so even if only for 10 minutes they felt that boost, worth it.
Yay.
Yes. I know you are super impressed with those saxophone skills. Fear not, Danna and Kenny G are actually releasing a collaboration album this summer. That's actually not true. I just made that up, but wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, come on. I don't know. I think we should get that going on the iTunes. But for real, hopefully those tips on teacher burnout are gonna make you feel like you want to walk into that school every single day because kids deserve that, and quite frankly, you deserve that. We want every single day of our school year to be awesome, and that's actually why I wrote the book 180 Days of Awesome, celebrating every single day of education. Now, I know that we are only a few weeks away from the end of the school year, and what happens is principals are looking for book studies for this summer or for when teachers return in the fall. Hello! This is an amazing option. It is full of tips and tricks and stories and strategies to make sure that you aren't feeling burnt out, to make sure that you feel like education is celebrated. This is a really cool opportunity to get your entire team of teachers, maybe your entire hallway of teachers, or shoot, maybe your entire school of teachers on the same page, literally, like you guys could be on the same page of this book, doing a staff study to make sure that you're celebrating awesome. Friends, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with all of your teacher friends. There are links below to 180 Days of Awesome and to connect with Danna on Instagram. But the one thing that I want you to remember this week as you walk into your school is, hey, you've got this.